Hi, everyone. I want to start this presentation in a little unusual way. I want everyone to stop, close their eyes, and listen. Imagine yourself trying to cross a road like this. Imagine having to navigate simply by listening to the sounds of your environment. Imagine not knowing what street you're on, the color of the traffic light, or even where the shop you want to go to actually is. Now open your eyes. You see, reality doesn't differ a lot from this. What if I told you that over 2.2 billion people face these challenges every single day? Concurrently, about 1 in 30 Europeans experiences sight loss, whilst approximately 12 million people in the US over the age of 40 face some kind of vision impairment. This was the basis of the app two of my peers and I created, Chrisa and Christiana. Navigate, an AI integrated app to help visually impaired people navigate in the natural and structured environment. Hi, I'm Amalia Presentation, and I'm part of the team that won the Gold Award at WACI 2021, as well as an award for AI excellence in the high school category. I am a senior at Athens College High School in Athens, Greece, and I'm so excited to be here this weekend as part of the WACI 2022 community. Now, I know our project was about visually impaired people, but today I'm here to talk to you about another kind of blindness, the side of AI we often neglect, or as I like to call it, the blind spots of AI. Let's travel back for a moment to the moment we found that we won. For context, it was right after midnight, and I've muted our voices in the videos for the sake of everyone's health. It went kind of like this, and this, and this. Now, evidently, we couldn't hide our excitement, and our win opened so many doors for us. We even got to lecture to graduate students at the Informatics and Telecommunications Institute, NCSR Democritus. But what most people don't know is the story behind this win, the blind spot of our AI app. My interest in computer science stems back to third grade, when I joined the animation club at my school. The following year, I joined another club about coding with Scratch. I was so amazed by the endless capabilities of coding and my ability to creatively express myself with all the tech tools. As I experienced coding for the first time, I also got to learn about robots. And that's where my interest in computer science peaked. My education about computers at school was crucial in finding my passion, which is something I'm going to touch on a little bit later on. But the moment when I really knew this is what I want to do when I grow up was when I started spending time on it outside of school hours. My dad got me my first robotics group book. I read it, then read it again and again until I had practically learned all of its contents by heart. How to Build a Robot from Scratch. I still remember the title of the book. Now, I'm sorry to disappoint you, I never actually got to build a robot, but this book opened my eyes to a whole new world. Fast forward to ninth grade, when I joined the computer science club at my school. During our first meeting, I encountered a class full of boys and only two other girls. It was like a microcosm of today's computer science industry. Nowadays, only 20% of the computer science graduates in the US are women. 40 years ago, this number was 40%. So, why is there a backwards evolution? Computer science is an activity that girls are less interested in than boys are. Because of this exact stereotype, girls feel a lower sense of belonging in CS related activities, so they're much more less likely to choose them. I kind of bonded with the two other girls in the computer science club over this stereotype. And now, Pavlina and Mirto are my two best friends. We wanted to prove that girls are just as capable as boys to excel in the field. So during the summer of 10th grade, we decided to get together and start brainstorming ideas. We happened to come across a competition called STEM Stars Greece and set it as a goal for our project. We also had to find a mentor. So we talked with a computer science professor at our school, Mr. Carabelas, who also happens to be uh, our advisor for our WASI project, if he was interested. So now that we had a team, we needed to get to work. I learned a lot of lessons through this experience, and the first one came while we were brainstorming for ideas. I believe that an idea is not worth pursuing if it has already been implemented. And if there is one thing you should keep from this presentation, is that this is far from truth. The notion that we should improve what is already implemented is the foundation of evolution. You don't need to find something totally new to innovate. Besides, our resources as students are limited. Improving a solution that already exists can be just as impactful as you've all proved in the past few days. And this is what we ended up doing. We decided to combine cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a subfield of psychology, with computer science, and to build an app that boosts your mood and mental health. Essentially, our app recognized emotions through text, mainly diaries, and produced a unique, interactive piece of art representing the emotion to make it more perceptible and less intimidating. We also made to do lists tailored to each user with ways they can combat their negative emotions. Our solution was far from perfect, but its innovation laid in the fact that there was an intersection of psychology and computer science. It was interdisciplinary. Although due to the pandemic, all our work had to be completed online, fun moments were not missing from this experience. And this is precisely why I loved it so much. I still remember Mirto, my friend, during our last online meeting before the competition, saying, okay, but imagine if the ambassador in the US to Greece announces our project's name during the competition. I'll freak out. And well, I think this video speaks for itself.
Congratulations to the team that put together the Feel Right project, which looks at the psychological impacts of lockdown, which is a year into this pandemic, something I think we all can relate to.
Winning meant so much more meets the eye. Not only were we selected to be finalists at the International Science and Engineering Fair, but it was a huge step towards bringing more girls to the Computer Science Club. What did I think won the judges over? The enthusiasm. Even if you created the most complex and innovative thing ever, no one's going to care unless you project your passion about your creation. You need to be the first person to believe in what you do to make others believe in it too. And I think this also applied to our WASI project last year. So to all the WASI competitors, don't be afraid to have confidence in what you do and communicate that confidence to your audience. I actually had the pleasure of being a judge at WASI this year, and I must admit, all you young creators here have some lessons to teach us. You were so passionate about your creation, and this passion was designated through the screen when I was judging the online competitors, or even here when I was watching all your presentations. Now, besides the enthusiasm, I also learned the importance of cooperation, and specifically, cooperating with individuals from different backgrounds. You see, Mirto wants to become a mathematician, and Pavlina an aerospace engineer. So none of us really knew anything about psychology. That's precisely what made the difference, though. Because we learned something new, together, each one of us brought their own perspective to the table and interpreted their findings in a unique way. Being open to new viewpoints and approaches is how you can make change. Besides, a project is always more fun when you have more people to experience it with. Of course, I could go on and on forever about how my personal experiences helped in our success in WASI 2021. But I think this was my secret recipe, a combination of cooperation, communication, and confidence, the three C's. Now, I keep mentioning the word education, and quite frankly, AI advancements are all under the umbrella of AI education. AI education is the side of AI advancement we often don't see. And in my opinion, it's the side we don't pay enough attention to. But why is it so important to learn about AI? Well, we live at a time when artificial intelligence is ubiquitous, it's omnipresent. Our digital footprint is everywhere, whether we like it or not. Think about how much we use our mobile phones and other electronic devices around us. Now, let's play a quick game. Raise your hand if you're fascinated about all that AI has to offer. Okay, I can see a lot of AI enthusiasts here. Now, lower your hand. Now, raise your hand if you're a little scared about what the AI can do in the future. I see it as if we have two options: being scared of AI or embracing it and getting to know it. I like to believe the second option is better. For AI to benefit society in all the ways it has continuously proven it can, and you just proved the past weekend, we must get together and set the terms of the game. This is why the teaching of artificial intelligence is a central element of a contemporary education. It's not enough for us to simply add AI tools to today's education. We need to redefine what education is and the pedagogical methods used. So, what should AI education become? Mens et manus, which is Latin for mind and hand. This phrase is MIT's motto, and I feel like it encapsulates how we should shape education. Only through the combination of thought and practical action will we be able to solve current and future problems. We must apply, using our hands, the theoretical background we've learned through our minds to educate the future generation about AI. Here's how. Firstly, I firmly believe the 5 big ideas in AI developed by AI for K 12 can encompass educators, parents, but also you, students. The 5 big ideas are simple yet complete: perception, representation and reasoning, learning, natural interaction, and societal impact. A student should get a holistic understanding of all these concepts to be fully equipped to understand AI, beginning from elementary school. I actually have an example from my personal education at Athens College High School, where I'm doing the IB curriculum. So this year, I'm in my final year of high school, and I had to write my extended essay, which is essentially a 4,000-word thesis on any subject the student wants. So naturally, I did mine in computer science, and particularly, I studied two sentiment analysis models: a recurrent neural network and a fine-tuned model, and how efficiently and accurately they can predict whether a movie review is positive or negative. So the overall goal was to better understand AI, but the theory was not enough. I think students need to experience artificial intelligence to fully comprehend its scope. Personally, I got to go through all the 5 big ideas during my thesis to complete it. And I got to learn what each idea meant by actually implementing it. It's not enough to stay in what the books say. We need to apply all this knowledge using our hands through experiential learning. And since I mentioned this research, I'll pass on to my second point: how important asking for help is, especially in AI education. From my experience, I had never done any large research project. However, my school's curriculum sparked my curiosity in what we can do with AI. I was a bit skeptical at first about taking a project like this, but decided it was worth a shot. If I'm being honest, I struggled a lot at first. I had so many ideas about topics I could do, research problems I could use, and I didn't know where to find all the resources. I was stuck for a while until I thought about all the connections I had made last year when I was in your position at WACI. So I decided to message Ruse to see if he could perhaps connect me to anyone who could guide me. And he did. The moral of the story is, don't be scared to ask for help and make connections. I think this is particularly important in a field like AI, where there is constant development. You can't know everything there is. It's an endless learning process. Even here in WACI 2022, take advantage of this opportunity of being gathered in a place full of AI enthusiasts and meet new people: educators, parents, students, anyone. You never know what a connection might become. Also, what shaped my AI education and generally my interest in CS was school clubs. They are an opportunity for all CS enthusiasts to get together, converse, exchange ideas, and innovate. School clubs can be the incentive for students to continue learning outside of school hours, which is the ultimate goal. It doesn't have to be anything super formal. For example, in my school's computer science club, we get together once a week for 1.5 hours and we cultivate computational thinking and problem solving skills in C. Students have so many resources nowadays. And this is something I was actually discussing with Marco yesterday, how students have to cultivate the skill of learning how to learn. As weird as that sounds. School clubs are a fun and innovative way of doing so. Finally, I think national initiatives can be so important. What do I mean by that? Well, competition like STEM Stars Greece that I mentioned earlier, or WACE Greece, or even here at Chaos Academy, we're hosting the WACE this year, can be a great opportunity for students to get motivated. Workshops can be hosted both for educators, but also for students, even parents. The goal isn't to compete with one another, but to become more familiar with such technologies and get to know others' perspectives. AI education should be applied in all kinds of levels: international, national, school, even within your home, precisely because, as I mentioned earlier, AI is ubiquitous. Now, I'd like to close this presentation in the same way I started it. So I want everyone to stop, close their eyes, and listen. Imagine what the future of AI education should look like. Imagine what the future in general should look like. Imagine all your goals, dreams, and aspirations. Now open your eyes. Students, I want you to go out there and make all you just imagined a reality. You have shown these past few days you have the talent and creativity, you have your teachers and parents by your side, and now it's a matter of taking the risk and simply enjoying to learn. Thank you. I don't know if you have any questions.
Let's open it up. First of all, give Amelia another round of applause because this was, I don't want to compliment her too much because her father is sitting here, but she did an amazing job, didn't she? There we go.
Thank you.
So great job, great job. I think let's open it up a little bit for maybe questions or maybe some conversations. We have a little bit of time before we get started for our judging session. So we can spend the next 5-10 minutes. If you have any questions, we can go through it. And here's the microphone. I'll pass it on because we're actually live on Zoom. Anyone wants to go first? There's one brave soul in the back.
How many graduations was there in computer science between 1960 and 2020?
I'm not sure the exact number, but you can imagine that if 40 years ago, 40% of CS graduates were women, and now it's only 20, that number is much lower. Even if proportionally the number of CS graduates was lower 40 years ago, and today it's higher, there shouldn't be this gap because girls, I feel like they're as capable as boys. And I mean, you've showed your amazing capabilities the past few days, but while I was judging online, I also saw some amazing projects from girls. So I don't think it matters how many graduates there were 40 years ago and today.
You can pass on the mic.
What made the girls really interested in computer science?
What made me, or generally as girls?
No, generally. Like it was 40% and now it's 20. What changed?
Yes, I think that generally there's this idea, and that's something I also experienced, that when you're a girl, you're not as interested in computer science, which is not true. Like, there are some stereotypes and prejudices about what jobs or employments are for boys and what are for girls. And I don't think there should be this distinction, because if I'm interested in computer science, why shouldn't I have the same opportunity as the boys do? I mean, we can do the same things. And actually, I think that a creative and successful team should have both girls and boys, because each one of us brings a new perspective. So I think this is really important.
What do you think is the most exciting and revolutionary advancement recently in AI?
I don't know about the most exciting, but I recently read about Google actually created an AI model that you input sound or just like the beginning of a song and it continues the song on its own. So it can create a full audio just with 2 seconds of input of any sound. So I think that's super cool and it opens so many new possibilities to be used, like in songwriting, um, or even with speeches, even in criminology, it could be used to identify the continuation of another sound. So I think this could be really useful.
Oh, okay. So when you said that when you were in third grade, you got into an animation club, right?
Mhm.
And were you almost like, how can I say it? Like forced or suggested, or you just wanted to try it by yourself? Yeah.
I didn't want to try it by myself, actually. One of my teachers, my computer science teacher, told me that she thinks it would be really interesting and I would be really interested in joining the animation club. And it was on a Saturday, I didn't have anything to do. So I was like, why not try the club? And also, we would meet during school days, so on Mondays during breaks. So I was like, I can try it maybe once, twice, and then if I don't like it, I can just not go again. But I think, yeah, I think this opened my eyes to the computer science
So
world.
what was the most valuable thing you learned in that animation club?
I think because I was introduced really early on to this club, it was the mindset and ideology behind all computational things. So I kind of learned how to approach problems using computers and how I can use all these resources available in the tech world in my advantage to, for example, in animation club, we would make small animations to advocate for environmental problems. So I think the most valuable thing was learning how to combine two different areas. And that's how I also combined psychology, for example, and computer science later on. So I think this interdisciplinary approach to learning was the most valuable thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to know what was your project in WACY?
Yes, so my project, we created Navigate, which is an AI integrated app to help visually impaired people navigate. So essentially, we created a belt that visually impaired people can place here, and you can attach your phone, and then using an app we made, it detects traffic lights, supermarkets, and then if you go into a supermarket, it can also tell you what aisle you're in. So, for example, here is pasta, or here you can find fresh vegetables. And it can also detect banknotes because many banknotes don't have their value using, um, um, like, they don't have an integrated way to for visually impaired people to understand the value. So with object detection, we detected what monetary value the banknote has in many different currencies. I think we covered about 80% of the currencies. Um, and with an immersive reader, it reads the results. So I think the innovation of our creation was that we created all of it from scratch. So the model, the data set, and the app. So we used Swift, and then so we used Swift for the programming. Uh, and the other thing that I think was really interesting about the project we created a data sheet for our data set. So because we went outside and took so many pictures to train our model, we kind of thought about the ethical implications of this because our pictures were only from Greece. So, for example, if you use the app here, I'm not so sure it would work perfectly. So there were some problems, like why should we only help people in Greece? So a data sheet essentially is a way of documenting your data set. And I think this helped us a lot to cover all the ethical implications that our app could have.
From where did you get that idea of the belt?
Of the app. So I was actually walking one day. I was taking a walk outside, and I saw, outside when there are some tiles for visually impaired people.
Yeah.
So it was the first time I noticed this, but I saw that there are different kinds of tiles. So some of them are with vertical lines, others with horizontal, others with small dots. So I was wondering, why is there such a distinction, and what does each tile mean? And I went to my teacher, Mr. Carabelas, at the computer science club, and I'm like, maybe this could become a project. We could use artificial intelligence to detect the tiles. And I actually had the opportunity to speak with the president of the National Federation of the Blind in Greece. So I got to know all the problems they face, and he kind of explained how visually impaired people, especially in Greece, were really behind this area, unfortunately. But how traffic lights, they don't have a signal, so visually impaired people don't know where to cross. Uh, so this was a way of kind of helping visually impaired people feel more integrated in society and not feel so lonely, because as Mr. Yalouris, the president of the National Federation of the Blind, explained, they feel really lonely and kind of marginalized. I think one of you also mentioned it in your projects, how the mental health is affected. So I think this is how the project generally started. And then of course, I approached the other girls in the computer science team, and because we had so many different interests, we're like, maybe we can give this a shot. We didn't know we would end up going to AC, but it was a project that started out of a completely like out of curiosity, out of my curiosity, that what does this tile mean, and it ended up we ended up creating this whole app.
Let's take 3 more questions and then I get started with the judging. And we can combine the questions if you want.
What do you think is the most life-changing and useful AI invention?
You have difficult questions. I think, well, as I mentioned earlier, this model that reproduces, that can continue sounds, I think it can be really useful in the future. But also generally with sentiment analysis or natural language processing, I think the possibilities are endless, because they can be used, for example, in marketing, they can be used in psychology, not to replace psychologists or to replace other jobs, but as assistive devices, and kind of help people regain their sense of agency and actualize their potential. So I think natural language processing is a really interesting field.
What are you interested in most in AI?
In AI, I think now that the research that I mentioned about the sentiment analysis, I think as I've explored sentiment analysis in different ways, for example, the emotion detection app and the thesis I wrote right now, I think that that's the area I'm most interested in, exactly because, as I mentioned earlier, I can combine it with different fields. So, for example, it can even be combined with law. There's actually a solution, an app that they've created where, you know how there are terms and conditions every time you open a website? And to be honest, most of us don't read them, even though we should, and we just click accept. So there's a website that actually scans the entire terms and conditions and tells you if there is a high risk or something you should pay attention to before agreeing. So I think how we can combine different areas in sentiment analysis and natural language processing is the area I'm most interested in. Although I don't know what I'm going to end up studying next year.
Did you have lots of lessons when you were interested in AI?
Yes, I think because when we started the WASTE project, none of us had any idea about AI. And I think sometimes this is the reason why people are scared to try AI and create a solution or even go to AC, because you see AI as a scary big thing and you think that you need to study in university to be able to approach it. So I think this was the first lesson. AI can be approachable. There are so many resources, especially for kids our age. And another lesson is that we should, when we approach AI, we should kind of take a step backwards and kind of leave our shoes and view things from another perspective, because without wanting to, we might have our own bias showing through our creation. So there's this word reflexivity I like to use. So we kind of have to consider our reflexivity and our positioning when using AI, and think about how would another person use this app, or how would another person perceive the world around us. Because the AI models, we should really pay attention to what they do and kind of stay away from all this bias. Even though I think bias is inevitable, it can be minimized.
One more question. Okay, what's the question? Okay, so let's take this last one. And guess what? Amalia put her email address there, so and the QR code. So feel free.
So
to
my
talk.
question is, why do you think that the AI is? There were two paths, that you either embrace it or you think that it's dangerous in the near future.
I think exactly because people see AI as a huge thing. Like it's obviously everywhere, and people view it as something that if you don't know anything about computer science, it's not approachable. So I think that's why it's natural to be scared of something you don't know. So by bringing AI education, I think we can help people embrace AI. Doesn't mean that you have to study computer science to not be scared of AI, but just knowing what it does to stop being scared of it. And I think the two options, I mean, there are some people who are partial because maybe they don't know anything about AI. But I think that even if you're partial, AI can be so useful in many different fields that you can kind of embrace it and get to know it, and then you see all this amazing world and all these amazing possibilities.
Well, give yourself and our speaker another round of applause. She's good. Why do you think she's such a good speaker? Go ahead. She knows what she's talking about. What else? She's from Greece. That's a very good
Good
answer.
one.
Practice. Maybe she did it when she was younger. She's young. Younger. Confidence.
Yes, perfect.
Very good. And passion. She speaks with so much passion. That's why we listen to her. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you are going to be up on the stage for the 6th WAVC in 2023? I think all of you can be. I think all of you can be. Don't you agree with me?
I totally agree. Like
All
your projects were amazing, and I'm so amazed by how clever you are and how innovative your ideas are. So I think anyone in this room and everyone who's watching live right now can stand here next year in the 6th WAVC.
A lot of our projects was mostly from a lot of the ideas we did about navigation and mental health as part of our project. So I think like doing Back to the Future to just copy ours.
I think that's a good thing, though. That's the thing I started my
So
presentation.
can AI detect humor and comedy?
It can.
I think it can. I
Yes.
think it can. But I agree with you. I agree with you. But also humor. Humor is a very important part of WAC as well. So I thank you for that. Once again, give yourself a round of applause and our speaker. And for those of us that are watching online, we're moving to the judging session. So let's move to hall number 3. And then we're going to have the remaining groups one by one coming to hall number 2. And at 6 o'clock, we're going to have our closing ceremony.